Hi sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to cimnanya. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash that subscribe button and turn your notification on so you are notified each time I upload. And please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I am saying a very big shout out to every one of you for all the love and support you all give me here. I am grateful. Thank you. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about this woman who called out them, like she called white people out over there about what they did to black people, and also how Christianity was what they used to ride on black people, to, like, to get whatever they want, like to get to the top and all that. And they use scriptures to, like, to manipulate people, to make especially black people, like, because during the slavery some of them could not, like, probably understand the Bible. And so what they did was, like, they probably get a particular passage that glorifies them, like, and then teach it to them to make them feel bad, like to feel okay that what they are doing is probably what God has mandated for them and all that. I mean, like, she said so many things, and I looked at it and I was like, I mean, it is just a narrative they created in order to, like, justify what they were doing, or the horrible things they did, or horrible things they did. And they then kind of use that narrative that they are better. I mean, like, white people are better than every other person and every other race. And when they took the Bible, they twisted everything around because they wanted it to, like, fit them, like to fit what they are about to teach, or what they, I mean, I don't know how, but man, the manipulation was just so horrible. And I keep asking myself, if you said you are a Christian, because I really don't understand the whole concept. If you are a Christian, and instead of you to teach the right thing, you cut the scripture, like, to fit you, to glorify you, to make you feel good, and make the rest of the people feel bad. And when in reality, you are the horrible person, and you should be the one feeling bad for what you are making other people go through and all that. But no, why do you have to say the truth? Because it is all white supremacy and the rest of it. I mean, this is just something I keep asking myself. White supremacy is just white man in power, like the power they uphold, and they want to continue to keep the power. I am rolling this clip and we'll come back to talk about it, and I absolutely want to read all your comments. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. So straight up, I am rolling the clip.
White culture, if you could even call it culture, is based in racism. It was a narrative created by colonizers, like my Portuguese ancestors, in order to justify what they were doing to other people on the continent of Africa and even here in North America. And the narrative was that we white people were better than all other races. And they did so through Christianity. They took the Bible and different scripture verses, twisted it around in order to fit the narrative of colonialism and white supremacy, and also the patriarchy. And the patriarchy is white man in power. White supremacy is white man in power. Colonialism is white man in power. And Christianity, for the most part nowadays, is white man in power. There are historical references and proof where the Catholic Church actually said to enslave an African was to save their soul. The kidnapped and enslaved Africans that were here in North America were preached different scripture verses than were actually in the Bible. And that's why they weren't allowed to read. Because if they could read, then they could see that these scripture verses were incorrect and they couldn't be controlled anymore by this white God. And white people, we didn't identify as white until colonialism. We identified as Portuguese, or Latvian, or German, or Italian, or French. But then colonialism came around, and then all of a sudden we became white, and we were superior, because we were the chosen race by God, and the scripture verses proved it. And we had to go into other people's lands and preach the gospel, when really it was all a ruse. It was all an excuse to go in and rape and pillage the land and the people and the cultures. So when I say that white culture is based in racism, it's based in racism. Christianity was the Trojan horse of white supremacy and colonialism. And Western Christianity, as we know today, is still based within superiority. All Christians think that they're better than everybody else. I grew up in it. I'm very familiar with the culture. And it's part of the problem. There's a reason why most of Trump's supporters are Christians. It's because they don't even realize that the conditioning of colonialism and Christianity and the patriarchy is so deeply embedded within them and their identity that they don't even see the truth. Christianity is based in superiority, in white superiority, in white culture, which is all based in racism.
Mr. Chairman, I would call up Amendment SIL 23885, SIL 23885. This amendment would simply condemn the racist things that have been said about Justice Clarence Thomas.
So to be clear, Senator Byrne, you're talking about simply saying that we condemn racism against any justice, but
all.
he will only put one justice in?
That's right.
I don't understand the reluctance to accept the fact that Justice Clarence Thomas, who happens to be a black man, has been the butt of a lot of racist statements. And I don't understand the reluctance to condemn those. And that's what my amendment does. I don't want to water it down. I don't want to bubble wrap it. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I want it to say, big as Dallas, the United States Senate condemns all these racist things that have been said about Justice Clarence Thomas. Now, if somebody wants to offer another amendment to condemn every racist thing that has ever been said in the history of ever, I will vote for it. But this one is about Clarence Thomas. And I'll support going through justice by justice, all of whom have anybody who's ever served on the Supreme Court. But this one, and I think we all ought to go on record, is about Clarence Thomas.
Will Senator Kennedy yield for a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm reading your amendment, which I think is very well drafted. One of the things you cite is on July 13th, just a few days ago, 2023, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison disgustingly likened Justice Thomas to a house slave from the film Django Unchained. Are there any of the other 9 justices who have been subject to such racist attack in the last few days from a sitting Democrat in the state of Minnesota who has anyone else been subject to those kind of attacks as frequently, as brazenly, and as unapologetically?
No, sir, and it would be unconscionable for this committee not to condemn that kind of rhetoric for Clarence Thomas.
Chairman, despite Senator Graham's view of the breadth of this bill and the debate, I consider this to be not relevant to the matter at hand. And further, it specifically requests the Biden administration to inject itself politically into a law enforcement decision that the Biden administration, I think quite properly, has avoided getting involved with. So I urge my colleagues to vote no.
Any further discussion on this amendment? If not,
Are you going to offer a second degree then on the?
I have some discussion.
Senator Kennedy, your amendment.
How can you not condemn a statement calling Justice Clarence Thomas a house slave? Come on, folks. That's all this amendment does. I mean, does anybody here support that kind of rhetoric? I don't. I don't think you do. And this kind of rhetoric hasn't been directed toward John Roberts. It hasn't been directed toward Neil Gorsuch. It's been directed toward Clarence Thomas. And it's un-American, it's unconscionable, and I can't believe we wouldn't condemn it. I don't care how many lawyers can dance on the head of a pen. Don't try to pretend that this is some sort of a technical mistake in this amendment. It's not complicated. You don't have to be a senior at Caltech to figure it out. It says all of this stuff about Clarence Thomas, calling him a house slave, and other racist, disgusting statements we condemn. Now, you either condemn it or you don't. And that's all this amendment does.
If I may respond, I, for one, do condemn that sort of rhetoric, but the senator's amendment does more than that. It calls upon the Biden administration to enforce Section 1507 of Title 18 United States Code to protect Supreme Court justices, including Justice Thomas, in light of flagrant violations of the law designed to intimidate justices. And we've spent a lot of time in this committee trying to make sure that the White House and the political side of the executive branch is kept out of internal Department of Justice law enforcement decisions. And in the light of that, I again ask my colleagues to vote no unless there's a second-degree amendment that clears that problem.
Mr. Chairman?
I respect my colleague, Senator Whitehouse, and he's better at me counting the number of lawyers that can dance on the head of a pen. But this is a real simple amendment. If you support the racist things that have been said about Clarence Thomas, then vote against this amendment. If you think the things that have been said about Clarence Thomas are racist to the marrow, and you condemn them, then vote for this amendment.
Senator Cruz?
Mr. Chairman, two arguments have been proffered against Senator Kennedy's amendment. The first argument is, well, gosh, maybe there have been racist things said against other justices. I will point out objectively the venom and bigotry directed at Clarence Thomas is qualitatively different from any of the other 8 justices. This resolution gives multiple instances of elected Democrats currently in office launching racial epithets with complete impunity. The second argument given was the argument given by Senator Whitehouse, and he says, well, the part that is offensive of this is it calls on the Department of Justice to enforce the law. Just stop and repeat that to yourself again. So it is now the position of Democrats that it is unacceptable to ask the Department of Justice to enforce the law.
Senator Cruz, would you yield to a question?
Happily.
Would you read one more time, for the record, that statement about Justice Thomas and who made it?
On July 13th, 2023, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, the currently sitting Attorney General, offensively likened Justice Thomas to a house slave from the film Django Unchained.
So this is all I got from this video, and I am asking, how can, anyone vote no on this? Why would be the reason, or what should be the reason why somebody should say no to this? And why should you not vote on this? Really? Because it's in kind of it's just crazy how some people will say the truth and they will turn away their eyes, or look the other way because they do not want to identify with truth. And it is something that law enforcement should already be doing. The executive branch most especially already be condemning this, but they will not. And it is just mad. And then going forward to what the woman really was very blunt, saying everything out loud, how white supremacy has taken over everything, and how they kind of are like, all they want to do is just they want to remain at the top, and they do not want to see any other person flourish. I mean, especially the minority groups, Black people, and the rest of them. But then the truth is that, like, the whole thing that is still going on, I mean, like, every other person knowing that there is white supremacy and how they are, like, affecting them as minority groups or Black people. And some people still do not want to come together and fight what is fighting them. So they think, I mean, every one of them always think that, they are better off Black people, and, like, their problem ain't going to get as bad as Black people's own. But then I keep saying it. They are coming for everybody. That is just the truth. They are coming for Black people. They are coming for you. So nobody is exempted. And when you think they are not getting to you, it's just a matter of time. It will get to you. Like it happened to Hispanics. They probably did not know it will ever, like, there will ever be a time something like this will happen. And eventually it did happen, and they were looking for a way to sort it out, and they started screaming Black people and all that. So it is what it is. Not until everybody people wake up to know that there is something they probably do not want. They probably do not want you to get to know, the better for you. And also where she said about Christianity and all that, the truth is that back then, I don't know how to say it, but I really do not like to get into Christianity and all that. But then, one thing is that during slavery, these people really did Black people dirty, and I will never stop saying it. I mean, you can imagine choosing a portion of Bible to teach people to make them feel bad about themselves and make you feel good. I mean, you are the one maltreating people. You are the one doing horrible things to people. But you look for a particular passage in the Bible that makes you look good. That is what you teach them. And then make them feel bad for whatever that is going on, whatever they are going through and all that. It is an evil thing to do. I'm sorry to say it, but that is the reality. If you are going to change a narrative that that probably because these people could not understand that Bible, or some people read Bible, but they probably cannot understand it. So all they did was just to look for a way to justify what they were doing. And the narrative was that they write that they are better than every other races. And that was what they passed through scriptures, through Bible. So when they changed the Bible, they turned it around to make it fit themselves, to make them feel like what they did is great. And the colonization that happened was colonialism was just a white man's power. But in Christianity and every other thing, it was what they used to get themselves in power over every other person. So really, the lady really spoke a lot of fact, and I absolutely appreciate her truthfulness. This is where I'm going to draw the curtain, and thank you so much for the support. I will see you all in my next video. Bye for now.